Welcome to Podspace English. My name is Tom, and I am very happy to have you here today. In this episode, we are going to talk about something we all experience. It is something that happens in just a few seconds but can stay in our minds for a very long time. Today, we will talk about first impressions. More than that, we will explore the psychology of first impressions. Think about the last time you met someone new. Maybe it was at school. Maybe it was at work. Maybe it was at a party. How long did it take you to form an opinion about that person? Probably not very long, maybe only a few seconds. That opinion, that feeling, is your first impression. First impressions are interesting because they are so fast. Our brain does not wait for a lot of information. We see a face, we hear a voice, we look at clothes, we notice body language, and then we already have an idea. We may think this person is friendly, or this person is serious, or this person is confident. Sometimes we are right, but sometimes we are not. Why do we make first impressions so quickly? One reason is survival. Long ago, people needed to decide fast if someone was a friend or an enemy. Our brain learned to read signs quickly. Even today, when we meet someone new, our brain still works in this way. It is a natural part of being human. Now think about your own first impression on others. When you meet someone, what do they see first? They see your face, your eyes, your smile, your clothes, and how you stand. These small things give signals. For example, if you smile, people usually think you are friendly. If you look away or cross your arms, people may think you are not interested. Even your handshake or your tone of voice can change how people see you. Sometimes first impressions come from culture. In some cultures, looking into someone's eyes shows respect. In other cultures, looking into someone's eyes for too long feels rude. In some places, a strong handshake is normal. In others, a bow or a light touch is better. This means that first impressions are not always the same everywhere. Culture guides what people expect and how they judge. Clothes also play a big role. Imagine someone wearing a suit and tie. Many people will think this person is professional. Now imagine someone in shorts and flip-flops. People may think this person is relaxed or casual, but clothes do not always tell the full truth. A person in a suit may not be professional, and a person in casual clothes may be very serious. Still, our brain uses these signals quickly before we know the real story. Voice is another factor. When we hear someone speak, we notice if the voice is soft or strong, high or low, fast or slow. A calm voice makes us feel safe. A loud and fast voice may make us feel nervous. Words are important, but the way we say them is also very important. Body language is powerful too. When someone stands tall and open, they look confident. When someone looks down or moves nervously, they may look shy. Gestures, eye contact, posture, and even the way we sit all influence first impressions. It is important to understand that first impressions are not always correct. Sometimes we think someone is unfriendly because they are quiet, but maybe they are just shy. Sometimes we think someone is confident because they talk a lot, but maybe they are nervous inside. Our first ideas can be wrong, but they are hard to change. That is why people say first impressions matter. Once we have an image of someone, it takes time and effort to see them in a new way. I remember one time I met a man at a conference. He looked very serious and did not smile much. My first impression was that he was unfriendly. But later, when we had lunch, I discovered he was very kind, funny, and helpful. My first impression was wrong, but it took time to change my mind. This shows us that we should not always trust the first picture in our head. Still, we cannot avoid first impressions. They happen automatically. What we can do is try to give a good one and also keep an open mind when we meet others. Giving a good first impression does not mean pretending to be someone else. It means showing our best self in those first moments. Simple things help. A smile, eye contact, clear words, and a friendly attitude make a big difference. Think about job interviews. The interviewer often decides very quickly if they like the candidate. If the candidate is late, looks messy, or does not make eye contact, the first impression is negative. Even if the candidate has good skills, it is harder to change that first opinion. On the other hand, if the candidate arrives on time, looks neat, and greets with confidence, The interview starts in a positive way. The same happens in school. When teachers meet new students, they form impressions in the first classes. A student who listens, participates, and smiles gives a positive image. Later, even if the student makes mistakes, the teacher remembers the positive start. First impressions also matter in friendships and relationships. When we meet someone new, we often decide quickly if we want to know them more. A warm smile and kind words can open the door to friendship. A cold face or negative attitude can close the door. Of course, real friendship takes time, but the first step is important. Technology has also changed how we make first impressions. Today, many people meet online before they meet face-to-face. Social media profiles, photos, and messages are often the first things we see. A picture or a short post can create a strong impression, even if it is not the full truth. That is why people are careful about what they post online. They know that others are forming opinions from the first moment. We can also talk about how long first impressions last. Research shows that the first few seconds are very powerful. People often make a decision in less than 1 minute. After that, every new piece of information is filtered through that first image. If we think someone is kind, we notice more of their kind actions. If we think someone is rude, we notice more of their rude actions. Our brain likes to confirm what it already believes. But is it possible to change a first impression? Yes, but it takes time. It often needs repeated contact. If you thought someone was cold at first, but later they show kindness again and again, your impression will change. But if you only meet them once or twice, the first impression stays. That is why we must be careful in those first moments, but also patient with others. Another thing to consider is that first impressions are not only about people. We also have first impressions about places, objects, and even ideas. Think about walking into a new restaurant. In the first seconds, you notice the light, the smell, the music, and the decoration. You already have a feeling if you like the place or not. Later, the food may change your mind, but the first feeling is strong. The same happens with books, movies, or even lessons. When you open a book, the first page gives you a feeling. When you start a movie, the first minutes decide if you want to continue. When you enter a classroom, the first moments influence how you see the teacher. First impressions guide us everywhere. I also want to share a story from my own life. When I started a new job many years ago, I was nervous on my first day. I wanted to make a good impression. I tried to smile, shake hands, and listen carefully. But one colleague later told me that I looked too serious at first. I was focused and maybe too quiet. So, even when we try, impressions can be different for different people. This taught me that we cannot control everything, but we can always try to be open and kind. First impressions also teach us something about ourselves. When you think about what you notice first in others, it shows what you value. If you always notice clothes, maybe appearance is important for you. If you notice tone of voice, maybe communication style is important for you. If you notice body language, maybe emotions are important for you. Our first impressions tell us not only about others, but also about our own mind. So what can we learn from all this? First impressions are fast, strong, and sometimes wrong. They help us survive, but they can also create mistakes. The best way is to use them, but not depend on them fully. Give others a chance to show who they really are. At the same time, remember that your own first impression is powerful. A smile, eye contact, and a friendly voice are small things, but they open doors. When you meet someone new this week, think about what impression you are giving. Think about what impression you are receiving. Ask yourself if it is fair, if it is true, and if you are open to change. Because in the end, first impressions are only the start. Real understanding takes time, patience, and experience. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope this episode helps you think more about how we meet others and how others see us. First impressions are not the whole story, but they are the first chapter. And the first chapter can make us want to read more. This was Tom, and you were listening to Podspace English. Take care, keep smiling, and see you in the next episode.